What is up, fifth grade? Mr. Gambaruti here. Another episode of Mr. G's Math Videos. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about division of fractions through drawing models. It is extremely important that we understand when we divide fractions, what's actually happening. And the best way to understand that is through drawing a model. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Let's go.
Welcome to the how. We got the skills that pay the bills. Mr. G's Math Videos, yeah, we bringing the thrills. We got the numbers, the fractions, the decimals too. Solving equations for what you gonna do.
All right, so when we are dividing fractions, there are two examples that we need to know in fifth grade. The first example is a whole number divided by a fraction. For example, 3 wholes divided into groups of 2/3. The second type of problem that we're going to encounter is a fraction divided by a whole number. 2/3 divided into 3 parts. So those are the two type of problems I'm going to be showing you today. Let's get into it. We're going to go ahead and start with whole numbers divided by fractions. So in this example, I have 6 divided by 1/3. And when I think about this problem of what's actually happening, I have 6 wholes, and I'm going to be dividing each of those into groups of 1/3. And then all I have to do is figure out how many total groups there are. So our first step is to create fraction bars to represent the whole number. So I'm going to be creating 6 fraction bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now, the next step I want to do is I want to look at my denominator of the fraction, which is 3, and that's going to tell me how to split up these fraction bars. I'm going to be splitting them up into thirds. So they're thirds, and I'm going to do that for all 6. Now that they're divided into thirds, we're going to be looking at how big are our groups. So the way we do that is we look at our numerator in the fraction, 1, and that's going to tell me each group is going to be worth 1/3. And now that's what I'm going to be counting. I'm going to be counting how many groups of 1/3 are there in these 6 wholes. So I have 1 group of 1/3, 2 groups of 1/3, 3 groups of 1/3. And I'm noticing now every whole bar, I'm going to have 3 groups of 1/3. So in 2 whole fraction bars, I'm going to have 6 groups of 1/3. In 3 fraction bars, I have 9 groups of 1/3. And I'll keep going, and I'm starting to see that pattern. It's just groups of 3. So what I want you to do, start making that connection to multiplication. Every whole fraction bar that we have is going to be worth 3 groups of 1/3. Well, if I have 6, that's 18 1/3. So now all we have to do is just count the number of 1/3. Well, I see 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. There are 18 groups of 1/3. So 6 divided by 1/3 is 18. So what's really nice is we're making that connection. Even though we're doing division, we're making that connection to multiplication, and we can kind of quickly do the math to figure out our answer. Let's go ahead and take a look at one more example when we are taking a whole number and dividing it by a fraction. So I have 5 divided by 2/3. So I'm going to take 5 wholes, and I'm going to be counting groups of 2/3. So here are my 5 wholes. I'm going to be splitting them into thirds, and I can tell that by looking at the denominator. So I'm going to split these into thirds. And now I'm going to go ahead and take a look at the numerator because that's going to tell me how big a group is. A group is going to consist of two parts or 2/3. So now all I have to do is count how many groups of 2/3 can I make with these 5 holes. So there's a group of 2/3, that's 1. There's a group of 2/3, 2. 3 groups, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 7 groups of 2/3. Now, did you notice this one left over? That's not enough to make another group of 2/3. So I do have a leftover. Okay. So we have to ask what's left over. We have 1/3 left over. Now here's the hard part. That is not our fractional piece that goes with our answer. Okay. We have to keep in mind how big was one group. Well, one group was 2/3. If we have one part left, we actually have half of a group. So we have 7 full groups and a half of another group. So our answer is 7 1/2. It's not 7 1/3. Keep that in mind. The 1/3 we have left over is half of a group because in order to make one whole group, we needed 2 pieces. Since we have one left over, that's just half of a group. So our answer is 7 1/2. All right, so that takes us through our first type of problems, whole numbers divided by fractions. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next type of problems where we have a fraction divided by a whole number. So in this example, we have 1/4 divided by 3. The denominator is going to tell us how to create our model, which is going to be fourths. So I'm going to be drawing one whole, and I'm going to be splitting that into 4 parts or fourths. Then we're going to be looking at, well, how are we going to split these fourths up? In this example, it's telling us to take 1/4 and split it into 3 parts. So we're going to be dividing our fourths into thirds. So that's what it's going to look like. We're going to take 1/4 and we're going to split it into 3 pieces. Now, and then we're just going to extend our lines all the way across so the entire thing is also split into thirds. Now, you'll notice we are no longer in fourths. There are no longer 4 pieces. Our whole is now split into 12 pieces. And again, I want you to try and connect this back to multiplication. We had 1/4, and now we just tripled it by splitting our fourths into thirds. And so think about what unit we're in now. We are now in twelfths. So our answer is going to be in twelfths. And then we just come back to the numerator and it tells us how many to shade in. Well, it's 1/4. We're going to shade in 1 piece. And that is going to be our numerator for our final answer. So 1/4 divided by 3 equals 1/12. All right, in our next example, we have 2/6, and we want to split this into 3 parts. So the denominator tells us how to create our model. We're going to be making 6. We take our 1 whole fraction bar, we split it up into 6 equal pieces. And now we're going to take those 6 and we're going to divide that into 3 pieces. So there's my 6 divided into thirds. Going to extend my lines. And now we see we are in 18ths. We had 6 parts. We now divided those up into 3. Well, now we have 18 parts. The numerator is going to tell us how many to shade in. 1, 2. And that's going to be our answer. We have 2/18. And we could take this a step further. We could simplify this. 2/18 would equal 1/9. All right, so you have now seen 4 problems. You've seen 2 examples where we take a whole number and we divide it by a fraction, and you've seen a fraction divided by a whole number. I'm going to give you 3 different problems, and I want you to pause this video, see if you can work these 3 out on your own. When you have your answers, go ahead and unpause, and I'll walk you through the steps. All right, so we have our first example, 3 divided by 1/2. So we want to create 3 fraction bars, split those into halves, and all we have to do is count how many halves that we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 groups of 1/2. 6 is our answer. In the second example, we have 2, and we're splitting that up into groups of 3/4, and we want to see how many groups of 3/4 that we have. So we we draw 2 fraction bars, split those up into fourths, and now we're just going to count our groups of 3/4. So I have 1 group of 3/4. I can make another group of 3/4. So that gives us 2 full groups of 3/4. Now I notice I have 2 parts left over, right? We have these extra. So 2/4 are left over. That is not our answer. 2/4 is not our answer because we have to keep in mind one group was 3 of them. Well, I have 2 of those 3 left. So think about what that fraction is. If we have 2 out of 3, that's going to be 2/3. So we have 2 full groups and we have 2/3 left over. So our answer would be 2 and 2/3. The biggest mistake that students will make on this question is they'll say 2 and 2/4. Got to keep in mind what was the size of one whole group. One whole group was 3, and we have 2 out of those 3 left. So we had 2/3 left over. All right, and our final example, 1/5 divided by 4. We have our fraction bar, and we're going to split this into fifths. And now I'm going to take those fifths, and I'm going to split them into fourths. So here are my 4 parts, and then I'm going to extend those lines all the way across. And now we have to think what unit we're in now. Well, we had 5, we split them into groups of 4, so now that's going to give us 20ths. And then we go back to our numerator to see how many we shade. We only shade 1, so our answer is going to be 1/20th. All right, so that is going to wrap it up for this video. I'm hoping that this video helped you. It made sense. You can now see what's actually happening when we divide fractions. We use a lot of multiplication to help us with this strategy. So again, just keep on practicing. Make sure you understand how to draw these examples out. And that is going to do it for our video. I appreciate you watching, taking the time to practice. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. You'll get notifications every time that we release new videos. And that's going to do it for me, guys. Until next time, keep on mathin'.